Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the mysterious mass. When a mysterious mass washed up on shore in Indonesia, people had a lot of questions. At first, it was rumored to be the corpse of an enormous squid, which, to be fair, really would be quite the sight. Locals were flocking to the area to get a glimpse at this washed-up creature, which is said to have been the size of a shipping container. After more examination was done by experts, they got to the bottom of what this creature really was, and it was no squid. No, instead, this creature was actually a whale. A sperm whale, to be more specific. Indonesia's Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries explained why this creature looked so far from itself when they explained the gruesome decomposition process. They said, quote, "With sperm whales, when they decay, the intestines will come out through the bottom of the throat, which is striped like a pumpkin, and they become curved." So, that's gross, but at least it gives us answers to this long-time mystery. In our number 9 spot today, we have Devil Trouble. Over in the Netherlands, this is a discovery that, when it occurred, it shocked all of those who were there to see it. 2 fishermen were the ones that stumbled upon this, and at first, they thought they were seeing double. That is because what they found was actually a 2-headed porpoise. Of course, further research was done on this animal because the fishermen knew it was rare, but I don't think they knew just how rare it really was. Experts would go on to later confirm that this was the first case of conjoined twin porpoises ever discovered. In fact, it's so shocking that this happened because it's only the 10th known within the group of sea mammals that they belong to, which is a group that includes whales and dolphins. It truly was quite a remarkable discovery, albeit probably a bit shocking when it first happened. In our number 8 spot today, we have jellyfish. Back in 2017, there was a mega swarm of giant barrel jellyfish that ended up washed along the Welsh coastline. Like, I'm talking about thousands of them, and these creatures can be quite large as well, growing to be about 35 inches in diameter. Many experts were shocked and had explained that they had never seen this many, especially this large before, so it was truly quite the sight to see. Experts explained that the unseasonably warm weather that was seen at the time likely boosted their numbers, and this may explain the mass quantity of them. In terms of how they ended up there, well, they were probably caught up while attempting to migrate. In our number 7 spot today, we have the sea snake. Okay, so rather than after disaster, these creatures kept showing up before disaster, and it had many people thinking that perhaps they were some sort of omen, and I can totally understand why. In the Philippines, before devastating earthquakes would appear, there would be these 10-foot-long creatures being referred to as sea serpents that would be found washing up on the beaches. Listen, if I found a weird, huge sea snake a bunch of times before something bad happened, I would also 100% think that it had some sort of omen. It turns out that these were just oarfish, and no, they are not an omen, and no, they can't predict earthquakes or other natural disasters. In our number 6 spot today, we have isopods. Okay, so you know pill bugs or potato bugs or roly-polies, whatever you want to call them. You know, the gross little bugs? Well, what if I told you that there's a sea creature that looks like them? And then what if I told you that sometimes this sea version grows to be like the size of a puppy? Yeah, a little unnerving and very disgusting, right? These things are actually isopods, and while most don't grow to be that large, one of the largest on record was found washed up in Indonesia. It has been nicknamed giant for obvious reasons and was measured to be about 13 inches long. This discovery, while disgusting, also proved to be quite remarkable as it was the first giant isopod to be found in over a decade. In our number 5 spot today, we have the octopus anomaly. When this creature was found, it almost became someone's meal until its anomaly was realized. It was an octopus, but instead of 8 arms, this one had 9. That's like a Novemopus now. Of course, this led to the question, how does an octopus grow 9 arms? Well, that has to do with their ability to regrow limbs. Like how lizards can regrow tails, octopuses have the ability to regenerate their own arms, but sometimes this process goes a little wonky. It's likely that this octopus at some point had to regrow their arm, and while that was happening, this new arm just sprouted another new one, thus the 9-armed octopus was born. Apparently, these sorts of things can happen over and over again to just one octopus. According to a 1965 study, it is said that this once gave an octopus 90 different arms. So, that's a lot. In our number 4 spot today, we have this unidentified creature. This creature was found on shore after the devastating 2011 tsunami that hit Japan. A survivor of this disaster was the one who found this strange creature, and while at first, from a bit of a distance, it appeared as though it could be like a small whale or something like that. From close up, it appeared more like a boulder or a large rock, leaving people completely baffled. In the end, especially because all of the work that experts needed to turn their focus to during this time, whatever was seen by this person wasn't fully looked into, so what it ended up being remains a bit of a mystery. There's a video of the entire ordeal so that you can get a little bit of a closer look. In our number 3 spot today, we have the slickhead. This is a discovery that actually ended up being the moment an entire new species was discovered. Found in Japan, researchers were thrilled when they saw this colossal sea monster and realized that despite the heavily fished area that it came from, no one had ever found this fish before. The fish belonged to a family of fish known as slickheads, which are known for their scale-free heads and gill covers. But unlike other much smaller members of its family, this new find was a beast. The previously known members of this family usually grew to be about 14 inches in length, but this one was a massive 55 inches long and 55 pounds heavy. Another thing about this fish that made it different from its other family members is that while slickheads are usually known for eating plankton and weak swimmers such as jellyfish, this new huge guy had evidence that showed he hunted other fish and was actually quite the predator. Despite this guy and his massive, terrifying look, it was definitely an exciting day for those getting to research this newfound fish. In our number 2 spot today, we have a long journey. After the devastating Japan tsunami that occurred in 2011, for years after, the oceans saw repercussions. Of course, this was also a disaster that carried over to land. Many people died, many homes and businesses were destroyed. I'm not trying to minimize or disregard the impact this tsunami had on humans. This is just a list of creatures, so that's what we're focusing on today. So basically, years after the tsunami, a whole slew of strange creatures started washing up on the shores of the Pacific Northwest and California. Some of these new creatures were even clinging to plastic debris that had been swept out to sea in the disaster. These creatures would continue to arrive year after year. We're talking shellfish, crustaceans, marine worms, sea stars, sponges, and even fish. What was alarming is that they were alive, and while that is great, some of these species are invasive and can totally throw off an entire ecosystem. It truly has been quite a time for research to see how this happened and how it affects both the animals themselves and the new area that they've been washed ashore to. In our number 1 spot today, we have the sea monster. Back in March of 2012, the nightmarish sea monster washed up on South Carolina shores and had people completely confused and stunned. People had truly no idea what it was, and the theories of course started swirling. Many people believed it was some sort of never before discovered sea monster, and honestly, I do not blame them. This thing looked weird, creepy, and I would have had no other guesses. It honestly looked like it could have been from Jurassic Park, but in the end, thankfully there are many people out there who know much more than I do, and experts were able to take the wheel and get to the bottom of this mystery. In the end, a local veterinarian was able to determine that this washed up creature was in fact the corpse of a sturgeon that was covered in scut. The reason everyone thought it was a monster is because sturgeons are huge, growing to be 800 pounds and up to 15 feet in length.
In at number 10, we have the frilled shark. Yes, a shark with frills. Now, looking at this absolutely terrifies me. It's some kind of cross between a shark and a snake. Like, absolutely no thank you. The frilled shark is classed as a living fossil and exhibits primitive features. Now, it's around 2 meters long, so 6.5 foot. That is a big shark. It has an eel-like body with anal fins and 6 gills. Now, it preys on smaller sharks by lunging at them like a snake. Ugh. These sharks can be found anywhere from around 1,200 feet deep to 1,500 feet, and they're mostly in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. In at number 9, the creepiest deep sea creature with the best name, it is the sarcastic fringehead. I mean, oh my goodness, look at this deep sea creepy creature. Like, it doesn't look sarcastic at all. It looks like it's being very serious when it says it's going to eat you. For me, it looks like a rainbow death eater from the deep depths of hell. The sarcastic fringehead lives 240 feet below sea level. It is a foot-long fish, so around 30 centimeters, and they are found in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. Now, these fish like to live in little nooks and crannies. They like to live in discarded pieces of rubbish in the ocean, and they'll pop out and come and get you if you try and disturb them. For example, this fish will engage in a mouth wrestle with other sarcastic fringeheads if they have turf disputes. Now, they have a big old face. Look at that big old face. That is defense defense mechanism right there. They have needle-sharp teeth that could really pierce human skin if they came in contact with them, but they're not a major threat to human beings. So next up we have the gulper eel. That's right, the gulper eel. I have some kind of like sympathy with this gulper eel. It swims around the ocean with its mouth wide open, hoping just to catch some food, and I kind of feel like that's me on a Friday night after like a long week. But then the sympathy stops when I look at its face and I think, oh my goodness, you could straight up engulf me. The gulper eel lives 3,000 feet below sea level and is luckily rarely seen by humans. Its mouth is much larger than its body and it can span 2.5 feet in length, so around 75 centimeters. Whilst the gulper eel has a massive mouth, it has comparatively very small teeth, so it can only eat smaller things. Essentially, the gulper eel is just a big show-off. In at number 7, we have the snaggletooth fish. The snaggletooth, also known as star eaters, a deep-sea stormid fish. Now this fish is even creepier as it's luminous. It has a light-up red chin, guys. A physical light-up red chin. It uses this bright chin to lure in prey, which is usually smaller fish. I mean, look at its milky glazed over eyes. I just can't even. Now this fish is found at around 500 meters deep in the sea and is around 26 centimeters long. In at number 6, we have the giant spider crab. That's right. Now this terrifying crustacean lives 1,000 feet below the sea and can reach up to 12 foot long. This is the biggest crustacean in the ocean. Often called the Japanese spider crab, this snippy little snipster lives off the southern coast of the Japanese island of Honshu. Now they'll eat anything including shellfish, they can pry stuff open with their claws, they'll eat dead fish and plants at the bottom of the ocean. Now some people even go as far as to say that if dead bodies sink to the bottom of the oceans of sailors, etc., these crabs will eat them. No. Ramping up the creepy at number 5, we have the goblin shark. Yes, that is its actual factual name, the goblin shark. The goblin shark lives around 1,300 feet below sea level and is legit terrifying. This prehistoric nightmare has a family lineage dating back 125 million years. Now this shark is pink in colour, has a flattened snout, is about 3.4 meters long, so 11 foot, and hunts for fish and crustaceans on the bottom of the ocean. Now these are found around most of the world. You can find them off the coast of Australia, off the coast of North America, around the coast of Africa, and even off the coast of some European islands. Creepier still at number 4, we have Tiburnia. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's creepy anyway. Now the Tiburnia is a red jellyfish. It's big, it's creepy. Have a look at this deep sea jelly. Instead of tentacles, it has feeding arms. Just flappy feeding arms. I can't deal with the flappy feeding arms. This big red nightmare lives about 4,000 feet down in the ocean and has big fleshy oral arms. I can't. This jellyfish lives so far down in the ocean that we don't know a lot about it, but we do know that it's found in the Pacific Ocean. In at number 3, we have the humpback anglerfish. You know this fish, you've seen it, it's depicted in Finding Nemo. It is just as terrifying in real life, if not more so, because this is, as Landon would say, real life right now. The humpback anglerfish is often understandably called the common black devil and lives up to 6,000 feet below the sea. I am so afraid of this fish, I don't even know what to do with myself. Let me tell you the creepiest thing about these creatures. All of the males are absolute creeps. They go around the ocean looking for a female humpback anglerfish, they attach on like a parasite and live there forever, sharing sperm with her. Oh my god guys, just get off their back. Now these beasties live so deep down in the sea that we rarely see them, but we do know they're found mainly in New Zealand. In at number 2, we have one of the biggest, creepiest deep sea nightmares, the vampire squid of hell. I'm not making it up, that's its actual name, the vampire squid of hell. This hellish squid has the largest eye in the world. It has light up mucus and talons on its tentacles. Oh my god. It is actually neither a squid nor a vampire. It is more like an octopus and it eats particles of matter like marine snow. Now if you don't know what marine snow is, it's actually particles of decomposing stuff that float down to the bottom of the ocean. Kind of gross. It's actually very well adapted for its environment and it lives around 3,000 feet deep in the ocean where there isn't much oxygen. For me, I just can't get over the glowing mucus. No.
Number 10, the sea spider. If you're like me and you don't like spiders living on land, well, I have some delightful news for you. They also live in the ocean. There are even giant ones that suck out the lives of their prey. Yup, they latch onto their prey for dear life and suck out any and all fluids they can get their hands on. Yay! Their leg spans are about the same as one of the largest spiders on land, such as the Goliath bird-eating tarantula. I should say they are technically not spiders, the main difference being that they carry their organs in their legs. In fact, they are almost all legs. Though they aren't very dangerous to humans, especially considering they live so far beneath the waves, they would definitely still send a chill down my spine. Thankfully, they reside in cold climate waters, mainly Antarctica.
In our number 9 spot today, we have the sarcastic fringehead. The sarcastic fringehead is a saltwater fish that is fairly small. They're around 30 centimeters long and are fairly slender with very large mouths. They're pretty aggressive fish and they are very territorial. When they fight other fish, they press their mouths together and that's how they can tell who the bigger fish is, and the bigger fish just automatically wins the fight. These things honestly look like they shouldn't even exist. These fish like to make their homes in shells or small crevices, and they have even been found to be living inside of humans' littered soda cans. Luckily, they are so small, they aren't really a threat to humans, but they are just so creepy to look at.
Number 8! I love this name. Gulper eels. Gulper eels, or pelican eels, is another aptly named creature as it's known for its massive balloon jaws. They are black in color and can usually reach around 2 to 3 feet in size, or sometimes double that, and live anywhere between 10,000 to 16,000 feet beneath the surface. Unlike the fangtooth, however, it does have a little bioluminescent spot on its tail to help lure prey so it can open up its jaw and swallow them whole. They also have really small teeth, so they kind of have to. Gulper eels can inflate their jaw and stomach to almost 2/3 the length of their body so they can consume prey larger than their body, hence the name gulper eels. That's a great name. That's terrifying though. Their primary source of food, however, mainly consists of crabs and shrimp and other small creatures. So if they don't thirst after humans, I shouldn't be scared, right? Wrong! What if they get tired of small game and realize the power that they are capable of? Just saying.
In our number 7 spot today, we have the Atlantic wolffish. Okay, these guys are named due to their teeth, and honestly, you can totally understand why. On both the upper and lower jaw, they have like 6 sharp and strong teeth that honestly freak me out. Because of how strong their teeth are, they tend to eat hard-shell creatures like crustaceans and mollusks, and they are also important to keeping the sea urchin and green crab population in check. The wolffish like to stay mostly in one area and tend to live in near freezing temperatures. They have such a cool feature though. Because they live in such cool temperatures, they have what is basically just antifreeze running through their bodies so that they don't freeze up. Even though they look super creepy, I do have to admit that that is pretty cool. Unfortunately, these guys have a population that is quickly declining, largely due to being accidentally caught by those who are overfishing. The good news is that they are only a species of concern at the moment, which does mean that there is still time to turn it all around.
Number 6, the Northern Stargazer. While the Northern Stargazer sounds like a very romantic name for someone who heads north to check out the northern lights, nope, we're talking about this guy. This deep sea creature lives in the dark open waters of the Chesapeake Bay, a region in Maryland, USA, where salt and freshwater mix. Stargazers have a flattened black and brown body with white spots along its back. This compressed exterior is perfect for the way they bury themselves beneath the sand with just enough for their mouths and eyes to be exposed so they can keep an eye on food. Once something tasty catches its eye, it opens up its mouth, creating a vacuum and sucks it down like a little snack. Its mouth faces upwards towards the top of its head, and its eyes sit right on top so it can look straight up at the stars. Now the name seems clever. Look, they don't eat humans, they eat mainly little fish and crustaceans. They're pretty harmless. We should leave them alone, but imagine just for a second, you're scuba diving and all of a sudden you just see this staring up at you. That's enough to give you nightmares.
In our number 5 spot today we have the Pacific viperfish. The Pacific viperfish can be found at different areas in the ocean depending on the time of day. They usually like to stay in the bathyal zone, which is 1,000 meters to 4,000 meters below the surface of the ocean, but at nighttime they will sometimes rise up into much more shallow water because there is more food for them to eat. It's easy to pick out which fish is a viperfish because of the fact that its jaw is sticking out forward and then it has those extra long pointy teeth. The Pacific viperfish is predatory and mostly eats other fish, but will also chow down on crustaceans, plankton, and shrimp. The fish can grow to be about 1 foot long and are considered one of the most aggressive fish for its size. I know it's only 1 foot long, but hearing how vicious it is, coupled with how ugly it is, I really just don't ever want to be anywhere near this thing. One cool thing about these fish though is that they have what is called ultra black skin, and it reduces the reflection of anything that is illuminated around them so that they can camouflage themselves easier in the darkness of the deep sea.
Number 4. The fang-toothed fish. Yup, you heard that right. Yes, it is exactly as it sounds. The fang-toothed fish has a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth perfect for clutching just about any size of prey in its jaw. That's right, any size. But it's fine, they live in the deepest parts of the ocean, the deepest having been recorded at around 16,000 feet. That is until they just so happen to feel like migrating up to the surface for a little vacation. Unlike a lot of other deep sea dwellers, fangtooth do not have any bioluminescent organs to attract their prey. That is because they're not the sit and wait kind of predator and instead seek out their lunch using their excellent sense of smell. They are more active than most deep sea dwellers and heavily rely on any light that may seep into the dark home. But oh, I should also mention they're also only 7 inches long and not dangerous at all to humans, we think. Tiny but mighty, as they say.
In our number 3 spot today we have the goblin shark. A goblin shark is sometimes called a living fossil because the rest of the family that this type of shark belongs to have actually all gone extinct. Not like its mom and dad kind of family, but the family that this species belongs to. These sharks have pink skin and a long snout that sticks out really far, and these really creepy teeth that are like nails. When these sharks were first discovered by humans in 1910, the guy who was researching them wrote that this shark is certainly grotesque. They usually grow to be around 3 or 4 meters, which is 10 to 13 feet, but in 2000 there was one that was caught that was 6 meters or 20 feet long. These sharks tend to stay pretty deep in the ocean, with the adults swimming even deeper than the young ones, so they don't tend to be a threat to our ways of life, thank goodness.
Coming in at number 2, we have the anglerfish. If you were wondering what the heck that big ugly fish was in the clip at the beginning of this video, that would be the anglerfish. This bony fish is known for its luminescent horn that is used to lure other fish as prey. There are different kinds of anglerfish, but those who live in the deep sea are referred to as sea devils, which truly does feel fitting. The females are much larger than the males and can reach up to almost 4 feet, while the males can reach up to 5.5 inches. An anglerfish is able to eat prey that is the same size as itself. That's crazy! Luckily, most anglerfish remain so deep in the ocean that they are not a threat to humans, and even if they did live not so quite deep in the oceans, most humans would just be too big for them to even try to attack. So there. That sure doesn't mean they aren't crazy to look at though. If you like this video so far, let us know by pressing that thumbs up button, and be sure to follow to stay up to date on our channel. Now it's time for number 1.
In our number 1 spot today we have the colossal squid. This one already sounds like a horror movie ready to stand beside the likes of Jaws, Godzilla, and King Kong. The colossal squid is a real creature that lives in the darkest, coldest depths surrounding the waters of Antarctica. This creature lives up to its name as it reaches an average of 46 feet in size and weighs around 500 kilograms. I'm 5'5", so if it decided to eat me, it could fit 8 of me inside of its stomach, or more if I was in pieces. Anyways, they also have large tentacles equipped with suckers that have little razor hooks on them to better latch onto its prey, and let's just hope that its prey isn't you. Its diet mainly consists of large fish such as the 7-foot Patagonian toothfish, and small ones, and even consumes their own kind. But they've also been known to try and consume larger prey like sperm whales, who often have been seen with scars attributing to their battles they must have faced. If you do decide to to provoke one, however, make sure it's not female. Apparently, they're the larger ones. So, to conclude, they're colossal, scary, and ambitious. What more could you want from a sea monster? At least now, if you ever wondered where the tails of the Kraken came from, you now know. Starting off our list in our number 10 spot, we have the Mauisaurus. These guys are a creature that was once very real, but they are thankfully a relic of our past because they are absolutely horrifying. They are named after the Maori god Maui, who is said to have pulled the islands of New Zealand up from the sea floor, so anything named after him is of course going to be an absolute ginormous beast. The neck of this creature measured around 49 feet long, which is the longest proportionate neck of any animal ever. The entire creature measured around 66 feet, so it's clear that their neck counted for a large portion of their body. But like, imagine a swimming dinosaur creature with a snake for a neck. That's kind of what these guys were like. These guys lived on Earth during the Cretaceous period, which is good news for us, but not so much for the other creatures that lived at the time. Creatures would jump into the water to avoid a T-Rex only to find this guy waiting for them. Yeah. No thank you. In our number 9 spot today we have SCP-169. SCP-169 is a bit of an enigma because it is said that it cannot and will never be contained. There's no structure on Earth large or strong enough to hold SCP-169, and while the exact location of it is currently unknown, satellite images suggest that it is located in the southern Atlantic Ocean. SCP-169 is said to be a marine arthropod of massive size and is often referred to as Leviathan. At first it was presumed that the tales were just myths, but during investigations of supposed paranormal activity, its existence became feared. The creature is estimated to have a body length of somewhere from 2,000 to 8,000 kilometers, and it is thought to have existed since the pre-Cambrian era. As far as we know, this single specimen is the only of its kind, and next to nothing is known about its lifestyle. The creature moves quite slowly at a pace of less than 1 kilometer per week, but it is currently believed that it is just adrift. In the area that is believed to be the current location of the creature, there have been regular seismic tremors detected, and this is thought to be indicative of SCP-169's breathing. These tremors cause minor shifts in the island's terrain, so it is believed that the creature is currently dormant. In our number 8 spot today we have the Pacu. The Pacu is a name that refers to several species of fish that actually do exist here on Earth, and they belong to the family of fish that are related to piranhas. There is one reason why these guys freak me out and make me feel like they're from another universe, and that is because they have teeth that literally look like a human's teeth. As relatives of the piranha, you'd think that they would have those same razor sharp teeth and the underbite, but that is simply just not the case. In a positive turn of events, however, despite their aggressive cousin and their creepy teeth, they mostly feed on plant material instead of flesh and scales, so while they're super uncomfortable to look at, they're not a worry to us at all. What if these fish have weird teeth because they came from a universe where fish have human teeth and humans have fish teeth? How do we know that there's no parallel universe where that exists? We don't. In our number 7 spot today we have SCP-3000. The area where SCP-3000 currently resides is a region in the Bay of Bengal that is around 300 kilometers in diameter. Because of the creature, any kind of deep sea diving by civilians is strictly prohibited, because if any contact is made, the humans will need to be immediately contained, quarantined, and processed for an indefinite amount of time. So what is SCP-3000? Well, it is a massive aquatic serpentine creature that resembles the giant moray eel. This one is a mostly sedentary creature, which may be due to its incredibly large size. While its exact measurements are unknown, it is believed to measure somewhere between 600 to 900 kilometers in length. This creature is carnivorous, and although it stays in one spot most of the time, that doesn't mean it doesn't have the ability to quickly snap up its prey. It is said that any direct observation, or even individuals within a certain distance of SCP-3000 will experience inexplicable head pain, paranoia, fear, panic, and memory loss or altercation. All of this being said, I think it's probably just safe to stay far, far away from this one. In our number 6 spot today we have the blobfish. I have spoken about the blobfish before, and I will again until they get the justice that they deserve. We've all seen a picture of a blobfish at some point or another. They're that fish that looks like a blob, or they kind of look like that coworker you don't really like, or the person in class who reminds the teacher that there was homework. I'm getting a little carried away, but you catch my drift. They aren't cute, and they were even voted world's ugliest animal, and while I understand why, I think the blobfish is a little misunderstood at the moment. These guys like to make their home deep in the ocean, somewhere from 2,000 to 4,000 feet, where the water pressure is much greater than it is up here. If we tried to visit the natural habitat of the blobfish, we would need some heavy-duty equipment to keep ourselves safe, because our human bodies do not like that kind of pressure. So applying this same logic, the blobfish needs the same kind of protection if it were to come to the surface. Or better yet, we could just leave them alone to live in their little deep sea lives. While in its natural pressure-filled habitat, the blobfish looks like a normal deep sea fish, when it is forced to the surface they turn into these blob-looking guys that we've all been making fun of. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, okay, these guys are from our Earth, but they're basically from the parallel universe that we call the deep sea. In our number 5 spot today we have SCP-835. This creature is a large mass of coral-like polyps, with each individual polyp being larger than any known coral species. Some have been measured to have grown over a meter in diameter. SCP-835 has a central mass that is roughly shaped like an oval, with a polyp at each end. While this creature is unable to move around the deep sea, they appear to anchor themselves down by their large tentacles that come off of the polyps. The tentacles not only anchor the creature, but they also help in the feeding process, and they are coated with a sticky adhesive substance. This creature has an extremely hard outer shell, which means that diamond drills have been needed in order to help collect even the smallest samples of the specimens. This creature has the ability to secrete a pretty toxic batch of chemicals, parasites, and bacteria, so the idea of completely cracking one open is not something that is currently an option out of fear. SCP-835 also has the ability to grow at an incredibly fast rate, but it can also slow its own growth, even sometimes halting it for a full 24 hours. In our number 4 spot today we have the Helicoprion. This is the weirdest looking sea creature I've ever seen, and I am so glad it does not exist anymore. This is a creature that once swam in our oceans long before any of us were around. These creatures were like sharks, and they grew to be around 15 feet long. Their lower jaw consisted of a tooth whorl, which makes them literally look like a cross between a shark and a circular saw. Jaws just got a whole lot more terrifying. The fossils found of these creatures have shown us that their teeth were serrated, so they most definitely were carnivores, but there has been debate about the exact placement of the teeth within the mouth. Does it matter that much though? A shark combined with a power tool is a bad combo no matter what. These animals were able to survive the Permian-Triassic extinction though, which is a clear testament to their survival capabilities, and this might also mean that they lived extremely deep in our oceans. In our number 3 spot today we have SCP-3934. SCP-3934 is a species of amphibious reptiles that see the males growing to be 1.9 meters on average and the females growing to be 1.7 meters. These guys are omnivorous and like to snack on fish and aquatic flora. This species was first created in the early 20th century with the intent to sell them as exotic pets, and while the exact circumstances surrounding their creation is unknown, it has been confirmed that some share almost identical skeletal structures with historical plesiosaurs. These guys were part of a whole marketing campaign to make them one of the most desired pets, and that just may be where the whole Loch Ness Monster thing comes from. SCP-3934 are very social animals, and they love to interact with humans as well. While being created, it is said that their behavior patterns were modeled after Labrador retrievers, so it is obvious that this species also makes a great best friend for man. I mean, aside from the whole we don't live in the water thing. Unfortunately, despite the intentions, they don't make great pets as they have a specialized diet and habitat requirements that are not easily met, and this led to a vast majority of the specimens either passing away or being abandoned by those who once owned them. In our number 2 spot today we have Leviathan melvillei. These guys were a kind of whale that existed at the same time as the megalodon, so of course this means that they had to be quite a strong contender to match up to the Earth's largest predatory shark to ever exist. Their name of course comes from the Leviathan, and I can totally understand why. These are the whales that ate other whales for food. We know how large whales can be, so that is absolutely insane. These guys had the largest teeth of any animal that uses their teeth to eat. I said that like that because something like an elephant's tusk is technically larger, but elephants don't use those to eat. And they also don't eat whales, so there's that. These guys had heads that were 10 feet long, and they had the same echolocation abilities as whales today have, which makes them even better and more adapted predators. Like having teeth 1.2 feet long wasn't enough, they also needed to have a few special skills. While blue whales are currently our largest animal on Earth, I don't think they would have been able to stand up to these prehistoric whales. In our number 1 spot today we have SCP-1128. This SCP is a little different than the other ones on today's list, and that is because it is more of an etheric entity. This creature has the ability to manifest itself as an enormous aquatic predator, but only to those who have been given its full description of the appearance, so I'll try to refrain from doing that today. People who have been infected by the creature won't really show any symptoms or abnormal behavior, but it is possible that they might show extreme aversion to going into the water. If an infected person enters the water and is fully submerged, no matter the depth, they will completely disappear underneath the surface of the water. Some of the time they will reappear a few moments later in a state of total panic, frantically trying to get out of the water, but other times instead of reappearing above the water, you'll instead see blood and debris cloud the water, with the debris later being able to be confirmed as the vanished person. The lucky ones who have survived have explained that while they had vanished, they were transported to the vast ocean where they were actively being pursued by SCP-1128. I don't know about you guys, but I don't ever want to encounter SCP-1128.
Starting off this countdown, we have the snipe eel. Now, I really don't understand how this is a real creature because it looks fake. The snipe eel is like a mix between a hummingbird with a tapeworm, which is a very interesting mix. It's unlike any creature I have ever seen before. Plus, this thing can grow as long as 4 feet. Imagine that, you're swimming in the ocean, all of a sudden you feel something tickling your feet, and it's this thing. No thank you. To make things creepier, this dude has its digestive system in its throat, and it has 750 vertebrae in its spine. That's way more than any other known organism. See how I said known organism? Because if this thing is real, then what else is out there in the ocean? In our 9th spot, we have the vampire squid. You know this thing is creepy already when its scientific name literally translates to the vampire squid from hell. Isn't that nice? Now what's weird is that this creature resembles both a squid and an octopus, but it's neither. This thing has 8 arms and 2 tentacles. Its arms are lined with spines that are arranged in 2 rows. What's also unique about this creature is its color, which can change depending where in the ocean they are. They also have the largest eyes in the entire animal kingdom, which is wild in comparison to the size of its body, and the eyes either look red or blue depending on the light. And lastly, these guys travel around by ejecting water from a hidden organ. That's kinda cool, you know, it's got its own propeller system. In our 8th spot today we have the giant grenadier. Now this is a weird mix between a fish and an eel. It's got a fish's head, but like a long eel-like body. Although it looks pretty creepy, these things don't bite or sting. Now what's weird though is that they stink. These fish contain high levels of TMA, which is found in human urine, sweat, and in bad breath. And it's safe to say that no one likes the smell of any of that. But this thing reeks even more. It's like you combined pee, sweat, and BO all together. That's what this creature smells like. PU, no thank you. In our 7th spot we have the sarcastic fringe head. And don't be fooled by this guy's name, okay? It's not a fish with a bad or sassy attitude. That would be funny. But I will say these fish are highly aggressive. They are located in the Pacific waters off the coast of North America. Now what makes them so terrifying are their Demogorgon type flaps around their face that just open up to make them look intimidating. Either that or it kinda looks like the poison spitting dinosaur from Jurassic Park. Like if you agree. So what they like to do is hide out, and when their prey comes swimming by, they'll launch out and attack them. And they aren't picky. They will go after any and everything. In fact, there's one video of a fringe head swallowing a whole damn octopus. Yes, you heard me, an octopus. They have also been known to attack divers as well. So not only are their habits terrifying, but they also just look terrifying too. In our 6th spot we have the fan-fin anglerfish. Now anglerfish are undeniably creepy. In fact, they are considered one of the scariest sea creatures on Earth. Take a look at a picture of them and you'll see why. Now there are different types of anglerfish. Today let's talk about the fan-fin anglerfish. This thing has a massive jaw with tons of sharp teeth. Their mouth is so wide it extends all over the entire circumference of their head. These creatures are also covered in what looks like hair all over their body, but those are used to sense what is around them. Now, if you watched Finding Nemo, then you already know about this guy, okay? It's when Marlin and Dory just keep swimming, and then it gets darker, and then they see this thing glowing in the distance. Turns out it was part of the anglerfish. Remember that scene? That's this fish. Now, they use this light or lure to attract fish, and then once they're near, they can scoop them up. What's wild is that they can swallow fish that are almost twice their size. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the deep sea lizardfish. I'm telling you, these creatures just keep getting weirder and weirder. Now, these things can be found at the depths of the ocean at 1,000 to 2,500 meters down. They're about 25 inches long and are a shiny blue color. Now, these things like to wait on the ocean floor until their dinner comes by, and when it's time, they open their jaws and snap out at them. In fact, lizardfish has hinged teeth, which means the more and more the prey resists and tries to escape, the further they'll just move down its throat. These things eat everything from coral to worms to fish to crustaceans. Some have been known to eat other members of their own species, so they have cannibal-like tendencies. In our 4th spot, we have the tardigrade. Now, this has to be one of the strangest creatures on the entire planet, and I'm not even kidding when I say that. So tardigrades, otherwise known as water bears or moss piglets, are these plump-looking creatures with 8 legs and hands with 48 claws on each. They live off of nutrients from plants and microorganisms. When they are feeding, their sharp teeth extend outwards, allowing them to suck out the nutrients. Now, here's why they're super weird. These things are almost indestructible. Not only can they survive in the ocean, but they can even survive in outer space. If an apocalypse happened, they would still be floating around in the ocean. One of the reasons why is that they can go up to 30 years without food or water, and they can survive in both absolute zero or above boiling temperatures. That is just wild to me. Like, they don't seem like real creatures. In our 3rd spot, we have the deep sea blob. Again, how is this thing real? It's like a slab of slime with a human face on it. I kid you not, I have met people that look like that. So the sea blob can be found at around 2,800 meters down along the US west coast. They are pinkish in color and can grow to be about 12 inches long. Now, what's weird is that they lack bones and teeth. I mean, that's why they're called a blob. And since they have low muscle mass, they don't actually move around much. So they just float along, and when they see food, they open their mouths and suck the food in, kinda like Kirby. Now, here is the most interesting part. Take a blobfish out of water and, you know, it looks pretty creepy. While it's thought that when it's in water, it takes on a different appearance. But when out of water, they look weird because they don't have the water pressure to hold their shape. Moving on to number 2, we have the flying spaghetti monster. Now, the creature's real name is Bathyphysma conifer, which is a mouthful and I probably pronounced it wrong, so people like to just call it the flying spaghetti monster due to its appearance. The thing appears to have noodly type tentacles. This thing was first spotted off the coast of Angola in 2015 by workers at BP. They were taking footage underwater when they managed to capture this thing on film. Immediately, they called it the flying spaghetti monster as it reminded them of the deity of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. But apparently it's not just a singular organism, but a bunch of them fused together. It's a really strange creature. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the super giant shrimp. In 2011, a group of scientists were exploring the Kermadec Trench off the northeast coast of New Zealand when they came across this giant shrimp known as the supergiant. That same year, 6 other giant shrimp were found. The largest one was 34 centimeters, or 13 inches. Excuse me? No, shrimp are tiny. These things must have come from a universe where big creatures are small and small creatures are big, like in the movie Journey to the Center of the Earth 2. To this date, one of the biggest shrimp ever caught was 18 inches, which is 45 centimeters, which is massive. Starting off this countdown, we have the ultra black fish. There are a couple of ultra black fish that are so dark that they are almost invisible. At least 16 species of these fish have specialized skin, which makes them almost impossible to detect. Their skin is so unique that they absorb 99.95% of all photons. This makes them blacker than black. even under a harsh spotlight, these creatures appear as mere silhouettes. That's why it's also so hard to capture a photo of them. One scientist said, and I quote, "It didn't matter how you set up the camera or lighting, they just sucked up all the light." So in a way, these fish have a cloak of invisibility, and that's why it's so easy for them to sneak up on their prey. With features like this, it literally makes them seem like they came from another universe. In our 9th spot today, we have the brittle star. For this one, I want to take a look at one brittle star in particular, and that's one that's named the Game of Thrones star. That's because its appendages look like the thorny crown found on the second Game of Thrones book cover, A Clash of Kings. Now, what's weird about these creatures is that they don't have any brains or eyes, yet they somehow know what they need to do in order to survive. Like, dude, it's literally a brainless organism wandering around the bottom of the ocean, and when fish get close to it, they reach out their tentacles and wrap them in a spiral and then eat them. Take a look at them. They literally look like creepy little brainless aliens. I refuse to believe that they're real. Like, I mean, obviously they are real, but like, that's a creature straight out of a horror film. In our 8th spot today, we have the black swallower. This is a deep sea fish with a big appetite, and it can handle more than it looks like it can. That's because it's slender in size, but its stomach can expand up to 10 times its original size. In fact, it can swallow big fish whole, and then the fish stays in their stomach, which gets stretched into transparency. In fact, sometimes their food starts rotting in their stomach before they even get to finish digesting it. No wonder it was given the name the swallower fish. Just look at that thing. In our 7th spot today, we have the Pacific black dragon. Now, this is one of the sea creatures that is considered to be ultra black, so it easily blends into the depths of the ocean where no light reaches. Now, this creature literally looks like an alien from Predator. Look at this! Look at its creepy beady eyes and sharp teeth and like long chin whiskers. It's undeniably creepy. Now, the males are small. They grow to be about 3 inches in length. Now, they're the weird ones. They have no teeth, no chin whisker thing, and no stomach. And since it has no stomach, it's unable to eat. Isn't that weird? It literally lives only long enough to mate, and then it dies. Now, the female black dragons are the scary ones. These ones can grow to about 2 feet. Yes, 2 feet. And they're the ones with the big fang-like teeth, and they have that whisker or barbel. At the end of that whisker thing, there's this little light that can turn on to attract prey. So fish swimming by are like, "Ooh, what's this glowy thing? I hope it tastes good," and then they go to eat it, and then the black dragon is like, "Psych, it's me," and then they gobble the fish whole. They also emit poison, which is very dangerous and deadly to their predators. I swear, this video is making me scared of the ocean now. In our 6th spot, we have the zombie worm. In another universe, we have worms that live in the ocean and devour bones. Just kidding, they're real, and these zombie worms are from our universe. Again, I really don't understand how they are real. So these worms are about 1 to 3 inches, so they aren't that big. However, they are very creepy. These tiny things like to devour great big whale bones, and their style of eating is pretty weird, especially since they don't have mouths or stomachs. So basically, they secrete an acid from their skin that is so strong that it can dissolve bones. This then breaks down the bone's fats and proteins from the inside, which they then digest. How delicious. Now, they don't just attack whale bones though. They'll tackle fish bones, even cow bones. I know what you're thinking, how are cows in the ocean? Well, sometimes cows or other animals get dumped into the ocean, so they'll take whatever they can get. That's not even the weirdest part, okay? The weirdest part is that the male zombie worms live inside the female ones. One study counted 111 males inside just one female zombie worm. Just one. Again, how is this real? Like, it literally sounds made up. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the hagfish, also known as slime eels, even though they aren't eels. Now, these ones gross me out because they literally look like human intestines. But what's even more gross are their feeding habits. So basically, they consume other sea creatures by burrowing their way into them. Here's an image of them literally eating a dead shark. They literally create a massive tunnel into the creatures and eat them from the inside out. Ooh. But not only that, they secrete the slime to ward off predators. The slime is so sticky that it can clog the gills of its attackers. Take a look at this video of it repelling a shark. Like, what? The shark literally went to chomp it and then it got deterred. and the hagfish was left unharmed somehow. Moving on to number 4, we have the three-eyed fish. Now, when this creature was discovered in 2011 by an Argentinian man, people went crazy. So he was out on a fishing trip with some friends when he caught this fish. A literal mutated three-eyed fish. Now, it's quite possible that you've heard of this fish before, because in The Simpsons there is a three-eyed fish known as Blinky. Bart fishes it up near the Springfield power plant in season 2 episode 4. So people were like, oh my god, The Simpsons predicted this fish. It was especially eerie since the fish was caught in a reservoir where a power plant pumps hot water from their facility and the water is pretty polluted. Honestly, anything with multiple eyes are not from this world. They're just not. In our third spot today, we have the mutant sea creature. In 2018, a strange looking sea creature was found floating along the shore of a beach in China. Everyone was like, what is that? And they were scared to go near it. I mean, it wasn't anything they had ever seen before, but one man wasn't afraid, so he actually went near it and picked it up. And that's when the animal started moving its head and limbs. This creature, who is not yet identified, has a human-like head with some sort of short stubby arms and legs. Theories range from a new species of sea life to a mutated starfish or a mutated sea sponge. What do you think it is though? Whatever it is, it's very creepy and alien-like. In our second spot today, we have the Goblin shark. Now this is unlike any shark I have ever seen before, and that's because it has the weirdest face ever. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't look like a shark. That's what I imagine a human crossed with a shark would look like. So these creatures can grow 12 feet long and can weigh up to 460 pounds. It was thought that 13 feet was the biggest that they could grow to, but in 2000 they found a giant goblin shark that was 20 feet long. So now researchers say that they have no real idea about how big these creatures can truly get. Now this thing has one of the creepiest looking faces. It's got a super long nose with a weird Voldemort nostrils, pink flesh, making it look like it was skinned alive, and of course, look at its sharp teeth. But it gets worse. These sharks don't hunt their prey down. Instead, they wait for their prey to come to them. They're just chilling in the water, and once a fish gets close enough, they launch their jaws out and clamp down on them. Yeah, their top and bottom teeth are attached to ligaments, so they can reach out and extend its mouth to grab its prey. And its mouth can launch out to about 10.1 feet per second. And its mouth opens super wide. It can open at a 111 degrees angle. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the barrel eye fish. Now this fish literally has a see-through head. Not only that, but the thing that you see there, which looks like a brain, is not a brain. It's actually its eyes. Their eyes can rotate in all different directions. They can even look up to see above them through their see-through head. You guys are probably tired of me saying this, but how is this a real creature? I'm sorry, but this fish has a glowing see-through head. Like, that's not normal.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the stargazer. These fish are absolute nightmare fuel despite their nice little name. Their eyes are located on the tops of their heads, which is what gives them their name, but they have this strange little habit of burying themselves in the sand with only their face exposed before suddenly leaping out in order to catch their prey. These guys are also a venomous fish, and if this wasn't enough, there are some species which also have an electric organ. Because they have the ability to camouflage themselves and ambush predators and can deliver both venom and electric shocks, they have been called the meanest thing in creation. In our number 9 spot today, we have the flying spaghetti monster. I know it sounds silly, but I swear this creature really does exist. This deep sea creature is a species of siphonophore that can usually be found in the Atlantic Ocean. While these guys appear to be one organism, they're actually a colonial organism, which means that they're composed of many medusoids and polypoid zooids. Zooids are multicellular units that develop from one single fertilized egg, and they combine to create functional colonies like the flying spaghetti monster. In our number 8 spot today, we have the wolf trap anglerfish. This is a species of anglerfish that is usually found in the deep waters just off of the coast of Mexico. While all anglerfish look pretty strange, these guys just might take the cake on the weirdest looking fish in the angler family. These guys were actually discovered quite recently, only a few years ago, and this, coupled with their deep sea habitat, means that a lot of information information about them remains a mystery just waiting to be uncovered. Like other anglerfish, these guys also have the bioluminescent lure that is used for attracting prey. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Pacific viperfish. The Pacific viperfish can be found at different areas in the ocean depending on the time of day. They usually like to stay in the bathyl zone, which is about 1,000 meters to 4,000 meters below the surface of the ocean, but during the nighttime they will sometimes rise up into much shallower water because there is more food for them to eat. It's easy to pick out which fish is a viperfish because of the fact that its jaw is sticking out forward and then it has those extra long pointy teeth. The Pacific viperfish is predatory and mostly eats other fish, but will also chow down on crustaceans, plankton, and shrimp. This fish can grow to be about 1 foot long and are considered one of the most aggressive fish for its size. I know it's only 1 foot long, but hearing how vicious it is coupled with how ugly it is, and I really just don't want to be anywhere near this thing. One cool thing about this fish though is that they have what is called ultra black skin, and it reduces the reflection of anything that is illuminated around them so that they can camouflage themselves easier in the darkness of the deep sea. In our number 6 spot today, we have the sea spider. Okay, if you're like me and don't like the spiders that exist on land, unfortunately this one isn't going to be up your alley. Sea spiders are giant and they like to suck the life out of their prey. Yeah, how terrifying and honestly gross. They basically just latch onto their prey for dear life and suck out all the fluid they possibly can. They are gross, but they technically aren't actually spiders. These guys have a leg span that is comparable to some of the largest land spiders, but the things with these guys is that they carry their organs in their legs because, I mean, they're basically all legs. The good news is that they prefer really cold temperatures like the ones in the waters surrounding Antarctica. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Atlantic wolffish. Okay, these guys are named due to their teeth, and honestly you can totally understand why. On both the upper and lower jaw they have 6 sharp and strong teeth that honestly would freak anyone out. Because of how strong their teeth are, they tend to eat hard shell creatures like crustaceans and mollusks, and they also are important to keeping the sea urchin and green crab population in check. The wolffish like to stay mostly in one area and tend to live in near freezing temperatures. They have a very cool feature though. Because they live in such cold temperatures, they have what is basically just antifreeze running through their bodies so that they don't freeze up. Even though they look super creepy, I have to admit that is pretty sweet. In our number 4 spot today, we have the fangtooth fish. The fangtooth fish has a mouth full of razor sharp teeth, perfect for clutching just about any size of prey in its jaw. That's right, any size. They live in the deepest parts of the ocean, the deepest having been recorded at about 16,000 feet. That is, until they just so happen to feel like migrating up to the surface for a little vacation. Unlike a lot of other deep sea dwellers, fangtooths do not have any bioluminescent organs to attract their prey. But that is because they're not the sit and wait kind of predator, and instead they seek out their meal using their excellent sense of smell. They're more active than most deep sea dwellers and heavily rely on any light that may seep into their dark home. In our number 3 spot today, we have the deep sea lizardfish. Deep sea lizardfish are a small family of deep water fish who are related to the telescope fish. These guys have flat heads and curved barbed teeth, and they grow to about 78 centimeters or 31 inches in length, which makes them a pretty moderately sized fish. They prefer to stay at depths of 1,600 meters or 5,200 feet, and they are actually one of the world's deepest living apex predators. These lizardfish are known to eat anything that comes their way, including other fish of their own kind. That's messed up. Despite the lack of light in the depths of the ocean, these guys have large eyes and pupils, and their vision is actually really important for their prey detection, as well as their well-developed eyes that allow them to see any residual or bioluminescent light. Not a lot is known about the reproduction habits, but one thing that is known is that the deep sea lizardfish have both male and female reproductive organs, which is thought to be an adaptation to low population density. In our number 2 spot today, we have the faceless cusk eel. Anything that's called faceless certainly can't be good, and this eel is absolutely no exception. These guys, they don't have a face, and they honestly look like the dementors of the deep sea. The first time one of these was found was in 1873 when oceanographers aboard the HMS Challenger discovered it, but for a century no one else really came across one of these guys. Perhaps it's because they like to make their home in the icy waters located about 13,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. Just a few years ago, when these guys were sort of rediscovered, one of the leaders of the expedition, Tim O'Hara, told The Guardian that, quote, "It looks like 2 rear rear ends on a fish, really. Apparently the mouth of these guys sits underneath its body and can extend out to catch food before disappearing back inside its own body. So that's kinda gross, kinda cool. In our number 1 spot today we have the hagfish. There are about 76 different species of hagfish, and some of them are known to live as deep as 5,500 feet below the surface of the ocean. While the hagfish isn't particularly the best name, they are also known by an equally disgusting name of slime eels, and this is because their body produces a sort of goop that is used to ward off predators. This slime that they release has recently been found to impair the function of a predator's gills, so it seems as though it's a pretty effective shield. Aside from this defense mechanism, if their slime doesn't work and they find themselves still caught in the grasp of a predator, they can sort of tie themselves into a knot in order to escape the clutches.